Hi, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. If you're online, I'd like to know. Good evening. Please let me know if you are online tonight. It's a beautiful night. So I'd like to know who is online. Okay, good to see you, Efe. Who else is online tonight? We'll start in a minute. I hope it's been a beautiful Sunday. It's been a long weekend for me. I just returned home barely 5 minutes ago to be able to do this video. So thank you, Ada, for having me tonight. Let's hope that others can join us ASAP so we can have a beautiful conversation. I'm waiting for others to join up tonight so we can roll. Let me get my glasses so my eyes are easier. I'll be back. Okay, so we still have just Ada online. I'll start at the count of 10. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Rolling. So, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, both those online and those who will be watching the replay of this episode. My name is Sam Obafemi. I have the humble privilege to have been invited by Ada to share tonight on the subject handling conflict in the presence of your kids. This is a very topical issue, timely subject if you ask me, and a very popular situation that we find with parents and children. So tonight I thank Ada for this platform, and I want to say thank you to everyone who will be watching this video. I hope that I can add a little value to what you already know and probably increase your contemplation and increase your thought flows so we can grow our families together and be on the same page. I'm grateful to share this with you. I'm a father of 2 daughters, and I understand the role of conflict with respect to children and mental health management. It is a very almost inevitable situation that parents and couples would have issues. It's inevitable. It's inevitable that a man and his wife, or a father and his mother, in the case where they are not married, would have issues, and sometimes unavoidably the kids or the child or children, depending on what the situation is, may be present, may be visible to the situation going on, and that can count against them in terms of parenting. So tonight I want to share what we already know and what we already are aware of. I think that we can have a safe assessment, a safe assumption that most of us adults have found at least one scenario where our mother was lashing back at our dad, or our dad was raising his voice at our mom. At least one scenario. This is exclusive of the possibilities of any domestic assault or domestic violence or battery or hitting or beating. That is even an assumption. That's a far estimate. But we're saying the closest possible, outcome is that at least all of us adults have seen one situation where our father or our mother was lashing out at the other. And that can be a very traumatizing experience. The truth is, the unfortunate situation with families is that a child who sees their parents fighting, especially a young child, the first thing that comes to the child's mind is fear. The fear that if daddy and mommy are fighting, what will happen to me? What will happen to me? What will happen with me? Because there is this fear, there's a term we call it, it's like a term that is responsible for the fear of the child thinking the parent is going away. There's a word for it, I can't remember right now. The child usually has this fear that so sometimes a mom is leaving the house to the office or to church or, in some cases, and the child is crying. And mommy, I want to go with you. I want to follow you. I want to go with you. And the mom says, stay back. I'm coming back. And the child starts crying like, I don't know why she's going away without me. The same happens with fathers, especially with their daughters. I don't know why daddy is leaving without me. There is always that trauma, that fear that daddy is leaving without me. Mommy is leaving without me. And so it is part of the attachment theory we teach in ACE, where attachment theory says that one of the causes of mental health problems is that a child has become used to a support system, used to a pillar, and suddenly that pillar stops existing or is not available, is not accessible, is indisposed. That has a severe impact on the child's mental health. So when a parent and the other are having conflicts, and visible conflicts, in fact, and distressing conflicts in the presence of the child, the first thing the child does is crumble to fear. There is the fear that this person I'm attached to may be hurt, may be wounded, may stop existing, may go away. And that fear, once it begins to become, if it is repeated, if it becomes a serial experience, like every day the child sees that experience, every day the child sees that experience, or it may not be every day, every frequent time the child sees that experience, the child begins to normalize that, okay, so this person that I'm fond of is always wounded, is always hurt, is always in pain. And then the child begins to think that, is there a reason why this person is in pain? Maybe I am also the cause of the pain. Maybe I am causing the pain. Maybe I'm part of the pain. So the child begins to think in their head, how can I help this preferred parent who is always in pain? So the first thing that happens to your child is that the child becomes fearful. The second thing that happens to the child is that the child becomes stressed, distressed, because the child begins to take responsibility for the safety of that parent. So you find out that, let's assume that mommy is the one the child is fond of, and daddy is always raking and screaming and barking and cursing and hitting in some cases. You find the child comes to mommy and say, mommy, I'm so sorry, I don't like what daddy is doing to you. Mommy, I'm sorry, I'll beat daddy. Mommy, sorry, what can I do? And as the child is growing up, they actually begin to plan how to revenge on behalf of their mom, if the mom is the one they prefer. If the dad is the one they prefer, they begin to find ways to retaliate by distancing themselves from their mother. I speak from experience of several families I have worked with, where over the years there has been repeated abuse between the parents to themselves, not even to the children. They repeatedly batter themselves with words and actions. And as the children grow up, they pick a side and they intentionally begin to retaliate against the other side. I remember a client a long time ago. She was going through a lot of distress from the husband. He was verbally abusive. He was emotionally abusive. He tortured her. And her first child, second child, third child, they were sympathetic towards her. And then, unfortunately, I don't know what happened. There was a twist. Suddenly, the firstborn, a boy, the girl started thinking about, Mommy, I think that you need to stop saying something. You need to stop doing something because you're the trigger. And she was like, oh my God. And then the boy traveled abroad and came back and pitched tent with his father. So at a point she told me, she said her last child was her only hope, her only support, her only this, her only that. The last child went to the UK and stopped communicating with the mother and continued communicating with the father. The woman called me and said, the only child I had hope in to be my comfort and solace has left me. So the thing is that these children are distressed, and at a point when they grow and they can pick their chances and choices, they will pitch a side. So that's the unfortunate thing. So at the end of the day, these children suffer more trauma than we can ever imagine. So the first impact is fear. The second impact is distress. The third impact, which is a result of the first and the second, is what we call adverse childhood experiences. The thing about adverse childhood experiences, and there are 8 conditions that form the adverse childhood experience. The first condition, and I may not be so articulate about the 8 of them at the same time, but I'll try to remember. Some of the conditions include the following. 1, has anybody in the family of the fighting parents, has anybody taken advantage of that crisis to sexually molest that child? Because something about this is, when a father and a mother are at loggerheads, the child, because the child is already afraid and distressed, the child needs to create a comfort zone. So the child is looking for who can listen to me and accept me the way I am. The nearest possible acceptance is from an uncle or an auntie who seems to be protecting the child, in quotes. The uncle and auntie is available to see the child go through pain, to see the child complain, to see the child depressed, to see the child fearful, to see the child look for ways to hide. And the uncle or auntie embraces the child. And guess what? That becomes the vehicle to molest the child. Because it is research that says over 85%, if not more, of child sexual abusers or child molestation are from the closest relations of the family. But how did they come about? It was an advantage that person took. When the parents are at loggerheads, the predator takes advantage of it. And whether it's conscious or unconscious, they capitalize on that division to molest the child sexually. That's number 1. Number 2, when parents are at loggerheads, there is the fear of love. The child begins to feel unloved because the child feels, if my parents are always fighting, then who will give me the love I need and the attention? Because over time, either parents will be aggressive towards the child, will be showing inattention, distance, isolation, not paying the details, paying attention to details with the child. And the child begins to feel unloved. The child begins to feel distant. The child begins to feel that they are not cared for. They begin to fear for lack, fear for unattention, fear that my parents may not give me what I need and what I want. That is another recipe for adverse childhood experiences that is recognized within the first 18 years of a child. The next is that the child begins to feel that when they grow up, they may not be able to be functional. The child begins to feel doubt about themselves. They begin to wonder, maybe something is wrong with me. Maybe something is wrong with my parents. Suddenly, the confidence that the child needs to grow is beginning to chip off. Carefully. That's a big problem. If you see a child that is not confident, if you see a child whose self-esteem is broken, if you see a child who is not able to speak fluently, if you see a child who is not able to focus in school, if you see a child who is not able to feel good about themselves, if you see a child who is always apologizing, over apologizing, and feeling that everybody is always right and they are wrong, if you see a child who is always a victim of bullies, these are symptoms that the parents are always at loggerheads in their presence. And that can be a very terrible thing. Now, the next thing is that if you see a bully, that child probably is in a home where there is a lot of chaos and fighting between their parents. A bully is that child who has been suppressed, who does not have the liberty to be themselves in their homes. And so any opportunity to prove that they are who they are, they will do it. Even if they have to force themselves to show you that they have a voice. So because they have been downtrodden and because they have been subject to a lot of suppression and oppression, where there are powerful influences, they will keep quiet. Where they feel that they have their way, they will suppress other people. That is why bullying is a result of dysfunctional homes. Bullying is a result, is a byproduct of parental conflicts. And that is why this is a very dangerous topic and a very dangerous behavior among families. So, how can this be curbed? I started off by telling you that conflict between couples is inevitable. It is impossible for you and your spouse to not have issues. It's impossible. It's impossible for you and your spouse to not have conflicts. It's completely impossible. But guess what? It is out of the understanding that I must respect my spouse irrespective of what the issue is. That is when you begin to set the right boundaries for your family and the conflicts that happen in your home. So, how do you curb conflict such that it does not affect your children? Number one, you and your spouse must agree. What are the boundaries of our conflict? A typical example, some couples don't even fight physically and insult each other in the presence of their children. Some actually keep malice, unending malice with their spouses. They keep unending malice with their spouses. And the children know these things. The children know daddy is not talking to mommy. Mommy is not talking to daddy. They know. That also, it has as much impact as the physical insult. That's why you need to stop deceiving yourself and saying, our children don't know we're fighting. Anytime we're at conflict, we make sure they don't know. We make sure that we don't shout at each other. We keep it on the under wraps, and then we just manage it. Well, if it includes keeping malice, you are deceiving yourselves. I'm sorry. You need to understand that malice is as bad as verbal insult and assault and physical assault. It's the same impact. The same impact. So, agree. We would fight. We will have issues, but this is how we should address it. We would keep our civility and mutual respect. We will communicate the conflict. One respectable way to handle conflict is to be frank. Once you have an issue with your spouse, you should be able to sit together and say, okay, babe, so this thing that is going on, what I really, you need to be able to be honest with your feelings. I feel really upset. I feel you don't understand what is going on. I feel that by your attitude, I am want to think that you're insensitive. You're owning it and expressing what you're thinking and what you're feeling. It is a respectable way of communicating. Not saying, you're a fool. You are insensitive. You are callous. No, you don't need to say those words. You say, I am, when I see these things that are going on, I tend to think that you are insensitive in some areas, or you tend to be insensitive in this and that, you're specific. I say, but I need us to talk about it because that is how I feel. And the maturity of the other spouse will respect the feedback and say, oh, okay, well, I'm also not happy with you. So it's okay for you to think I'm insensitive, but this is why I did what I did. And both of you need to agree that having expressed how you feel, neither of you will feel too proud to apologize where you've been wrong. Because most times, both people have played a role in the conflict. So both people have a place to apologize somewhere in the conversation. And this is very important. So number one, choose to be civil. Don't pretend. Choose to be civil. Agree on being civil. Number two, ensure the kids, if by virtue of the history that you've been at war and they've seen you fight and all that, carry the kids along in the resolution. So daddy and mommy had a very chaotic moment, and we talked about it, and daddy and mommy are now on the same page. So we have addressed the issue. Let them see and let them be fulfilled that daddy and mommy have issues, they have differences, they recognize the differences, and they have resolved the differences, and we are aware. There is that mental comfort. I know I'm saying some things that look impractical to you, but that's very important. You need to be able to carry, especially as your kids are growing older, they need to see conflict management examples from you. And that says, is it possible to have a civilized separation without impact? Now, impact is a variable. Impact is not one thing. Impact is a variable. But one thing I'm sure is, the more friendly the parties in the separation, the lesser the negative impact. That one I'm very sure about. It is impossible not to have impact. It's impossible for the parties not to feel pain and hurt and remorse and anger and, different emotions flying all over the place. But the more friendly the two parties are to each other, the more kind the two parties are to each other, the more respectful the two parties are to each other, the least likely that the impact will be too severe. There will be a lesser negative impact when both parties choose to respect each other and be kind and be good and be friendly. It's very important. Because if you don't choose to be honorable, you cannot be honorable. It's a choice. If you don't choose to be kind, you can't be kind. If you don't choose to be patient, if you don't choose to be logical, if you don't choose to be empathetic, it doesn't come on you. It's a choice. You have to practice it. You have to learn it. You have to give it a shot and give it a shot and give it a shot and give it a try and give it a try. It has to be something you practice again and again and again. It's very important. Number 3 thing I'm going to say is, never pitch your children against your spouse. It is demonic. Never pitch your children against your spouse. It is demonic. Never pitch your children against your spouse. It is demonic. Never, ever. You will think that, well, I'm doing it so that they will choose me, so that they will like me, so that they will see me as the better parent, so that they will say that I'm the better one, so that when they grow up, they will take care of me, we will ignore him or will ignore her, so that he will suffer for what he has done to me. Let me turn the children against him so that he will suffer. I will make him lack their love. I will make him miss them. I will make her miss them. I will make her lack their love. You are deceiving yourself. First, is demonic. Secondly, you're actually deceiving yourself. God has designed it such that these children will grow up with a mind of their own. Weigh the options. Hear the truth. Truth does not hide, though. I'm telling you, truth does not hide. You will be shocked. Friends, neighbors, siblings, work colleagues, business partners, everybody has been a witness to your behavior. One day, your children will hear from outside what your character truly is, despite all the show you have put up. They will hear how callous you are. They will hear how inconsiderate you have ever been. They will hear how willfully wrong you've always been. They will hear how stubborn you are. They will hear how sadistic you are. They will hear a lot of things about you from different quarters. Both the ones they demanded, the ones they never saw coming. Then they will realize that Oh my God. Our mom was this, our dad was like this. Then all the while you thought you were fanning the flames of evil, fanning the flames of discord. They will now see you as the true person that you are. And go and look for the person that you made them lose. And then suddenly, all your years of sowing evil in their heart will be uprooted. One day, there will be a maturity. That's just the honest reality of this life. Life is so fair. Life is a balance. God, in His infinite wisdom, has designed life such that there is always a balance. There is an addition to somewhere where there is a subtraction. There is an inclusion where there is an exclusion. That's the way this life is. There is always a revolving cycle. So the more evil you are sowing, the more evil you are generating for yourself in future. The more goodness you are sowing is the more goodness you are generating for yourself in future. That is just the system of life. So never ever sow the seed of discord in your children against your spouse. Whether you are living with your spouse or you are going to leave your spouse, whether you have left your spouse. Never be caught speaking evil, planting evil against their father or mother to them or in them. If your child is the biological offspring of your spouse, never turn them against him or her. Never. If that child or children are biological offsprings of that person you have ever been with, never turn them against him or her, because it never lasts. Even if God does not keep them alive to enjoy these blessings of being their parent, their soul will be remembered and the repercussion of your evil will still come on you if God keeps you alive to see it. So at this point, I'm going to stop, and I appreciate Ada Efe again. Hopefully this will add some value to those who come online later to watch it. I appreciate the timing, I appreciate the opportunity, I appreciate the platform, and perhaps I will get more questions from others who will watch this video later, and then we can add more value to you. So thank you, Ada, for having me. I think I've been speaking for about 20 to 25 minutes now. So thank you so much, and I appreciate you. Have a wonderful evening, and God bless you. Bye.